Excited to have you here. Welcome to Thursday's training. Today, we're going to be talking about the two priorities codependents need to embrace. These are like mandatory things you've got to embrace in order to thrive, in order to heal, in order to break free of codependent cycle. So, if you're new to me, I'm Marshall Burtcher, and I help codependents achieve three things. I help them heal their trauma, I help them discover and know who they are, and I help them create satisfying, healthy, fun relationships in their lives. Been doing this for almost 12 and a half years actually, and have helped thousands and thousands of codependents break free because I've done it myself too. I need to share this out to the community real quick. The community is your safe haven here on the internet where you can find guidance and support, shelter, and understanding in your experience. I offer tools, I offer training. The community has your back in that. It's a place where you can find out you're not alone in this experience, and you can also see how others progress and heal and succeed in their world. So let me know in the comments how you guys are doing, because we've had quite the fun week here in the United States. Get this shared out there. Boom, there we are. Nice to see you. I'm excited to talk about this. So the two core priorities all codependents must embrace in order to thrive. So in codependency, the idea is I make someone else priority, right? I make their feelings priority. I make their pain the priority. I make their well-being the priority. I ignore myself. I dismiss my emotions, the impact of their behavior. I dismiss my needs, my wants. I have a fantasy that the other person will take responsibility for those things and fulfill me, right? So there's this interesting transaction that occurs in codependency. If we get honest with ourselves, we start to see that, hey, I'm going to do this for them in hopes they'll do it for me. It's a subtle thing. It's always there. Got to be really careful with that. So in codependency, there's a habit we have in doing that. We actually are ignoring ourselves. We are deceiving ourselves. I use that word deliberately because we're not willing, or we're not taught to acknowledge reality. Okay? So this is going to be confronting. This is going to be challenging because we have to take ownership of ourselves. We have to connect with what we are and are not doing that puts us in these dynamics. And this is where these two priorities come into play. First priority is honesty. Not necessarily honesty with someone else. It's honesty with ourselves. Are we really being honest about how this person treats us? Are we being honest with how we feel in their experience? Are we willing to acknowledge it? Are we willing to treat it with value, with importance, and with priority? If we're not willing to do that, we will not break out of this cycle. If you don't confront this in yourself, you get stuck in it. I have a lot of people that come to work with me. They are stuck in codependency. They are stuck in this cycle. And every single one of them, 100% of the time, are in this place of denial. They are ignoring the impact of the other person's behavior on their lives, and they are prioritizing the other person's trauma over that individual's well-being, the codependent's well-being. See, this is what I call inverted empathy. See, that individual who is harming you and hurting you, yeah, they got trauma. So what? That does not entitle them to behave that way. It doesn't entitle them to harm you. You empathizing with their pain is actually bypassing the impact on you, and it's causing you trauma. It's keeping you stuck in this loop. This is one of those places we have to become really, really honest with ourselves. It's like, wow, I am accepting this harm from this person while giving them empathy, while they take no regard for my well-being. That we have to get real honest with. We got to be really, really confronting with it. That's core priority number one, being honest with myself. Am I being honest with myself about the situation? Am I being honest with what I'm expecting from it and not getting? Am I being honest with what I want from them and they don't have the ability to give? Am I being honest with what I'm ignoring in this relationship experience? We have to confront that. We have to really wrestle with that. Am I ignoring things that allow them to harm me, like their bad behavior? Am I tolerating someone because I don't want to be alone? Am I putting up with this because I believe there isn't anything better for me? These are things we have to get honest with. We've got to be honest with ourselves here, because that allows us to move to core priority number 2, which is valuing our well-being. Do we treat our well-being with value, importance, and priority? You got to give it that, because what happens if we don't, the codependent doesn't own their well-being and give it value and priority, they're willing to give themselves up. And this is where you get really stuck. This is where you get in, this is where the loop exists. It's like, yeah, I'm not going to be honest with what's going on in my world. I'm not going to acknowledge it. And I'm going to prioritize their pain over my well-being. I'm perfect codependent. See, we have to put empathy in check. We have to make sure that, yeah, we can empathize with their trauma and their pain. Say, yeah, that really sucks. Do not treat me this way. Then we have to escalate it. We have to say, you know, your treatment of me is harming my well-being. You don't get to belong in my life. You don't belong here. You don't get this privilege anymore. Because remember, relationship is a privilege. Having a relationship with you is a privilege. Your trust is a privilege. Your vulnerability, privilege. Your intimacy, privilege. Getting to know you, privilege. This is what it means to value yourself. It's not in the narcissistic grandiose sense of like, I'm so great, look at me, you know, well, you should be grateful I'm in your life kind of crap. It's not that. It is, I see myself as a valuable, worthy person that deserves respect. And I'm going to play with people who, by their nature, by the way they show up, respect me. That's not something I'm going to go out and try to get them to give to me. I'm going to see if they give it to me or not. And this is the other factor with honesty. With relationships, we have to be sober about this, because we have this tendency to maximize the potential of the other individual into this goodness realm, right? It's like, but they have so much potential. Everybody is good at their core. They might be. Everybody intrinsically might have the possibility of goodness. I think, you know, that's kind of my personal opinion, is that is true. But I can't live on possibility. I have to live on probability. I have to live on what I can predict. And this is where this honesty comes in. You may have incredibly strong feelings towards this individual. But here's the rub. If you can predict that they're going to harm your well-being, they are not compatible with love. They are not compatible with what you have to give. And you have to own that. You have to go, wow, I need to leave because this person's bringing harm into my world. This person is affecting my well-being. This is what it means to value yourself, to love yourself, to respect yourself. This is self-esteem in action. Because self-love isn't just I like myself and I feel good about myself. It is making hard choices that benefit your well-being long term. I call this the investment in future well-being. Okay? You have to own this. You have to choose it. There is no amount of work I have ever found, whether it's releasing shame, guilt, fear, or fatigue, whether it's resolving trauma, whether it's reading books, watching YouTubes, watching videos like this, being in the community or other communities here on the internet, that changes the necessity of making this choice. You have to choose you. You have to take a leap on you. You've got to choose to value yourself. Treat yourself with importance and with priority, especially your well-being first. Because relationships are a risk. They're a risk to your well-being. They're a risk to your sanity. You know this. You've been through it. And so the way we protect ourselves, the way we're able to filter through a world of human beings that are trying to figure this out, and then land in compatibility and with safety with another human being who's made enough progress to be healthy, at least that's the goal, right? We first have to value our well-being, and we have to do that through honesty with ourselves. Because while we may feel really strong feelings for another human being, we may have great love for them, great admiration of them. If they have done and they are doing things to us that harm our well-being, they are no longer compatible with your long-term happiness and well-being. See, that's the trick here. Now, coming from a background of having been on the abuser side of this coin, if an abusive person wakes up and starts to change their behavior on their own accord, you're not training them, you're not teaching them what to say or what to do, they come to this awareness on themselves, then there may be possibility for some sort of reconciliation down the road. But you got to remember here, though, it's about your well-being first. And you can determine if someone is safe for you through a prolonged experience or exposure to them by observing the patterns of behavior they exhibit, and they need to exhibit 8 core patterns of behavior. They got to be reliable. They got to respect boundaries. They have to be accountable. They have to be willing to receive accountability and take ownership for their behaviors. You don't get that, you don't have integrity, which is the next one. They got to have their words and their walk and their talk got to be the same. And then when they're not, they got to be accountable to it on a reliable way, and then you can build trust there. Okay? Reliability, accountability, and integrity are like the core of trust. Then they need to preserve your autonomy, your privacy, your boundary. They need to respect that you're a human being. You need to respect that they are too. You got to show up this way too. This is definitely a two-way thing. Then empathy. They need to care about the impact they had on your world, positive or negative. It needs to matter to them. Your well-being needs to matter to them, and it needs to be shown through their behaviors. This is one of the biggest things we codependents miss. We miss this because we are hungry for love. We are hungry for attention. We are hungry to belong because of the neglect we've endured. So it makes sense why we have the euphoria. It makes sense why we're chasing. I get it. Been there, done that. But when I started to value myself, and when I started to become very deliberate about how I met my needs and whom I met them with, my world started to really change. I started to understand what healthy relationships I've had in my life that I didn't know I had, that I sabotaged. I started to understand the toxic relationships I persisted in. I started to understand how I was showing up in toxic ways and had to correct that. And I started to acknowledge that I needed to become more available. Codependents aren't actually as available as they think they are. We have to work to become willing to be safe in the relationship dynamic, but we first have to understand who the person is. Trust is earned. So it comes back to those 2 core priorities. Am I being honest with myself, and am I treating my well-being with the value, importance, and priority it deserves? Without these 2 things, none of the game works. Nothing changes. Nothing. That's fundamental. It's like buying a car without an engine. And it's pretty useless. It's not going to go anywhere. So, sorry about that. You got to, and this is a choice. I had to choose this, and I had to choose this every day. When I first started emerging out of the codependency in my world, I had to sometimes choose it every hour, every minute. Because I needed connection. I needed affection. I needed belonging, and I didn't have a whole lot of it. And what I did have was disintegrating, and it was a very scary, lonely time. I didn't know what the future held. I didn't understand what was going to happen to me. But I wanted out of that pain more than I wanted I wanted out of the pain more than the fear of the unknown. So I committed to I'm just going to try this. I'm going to be honest with myself as best I know how, and I'm going to try to treat myself with value, importance, and priority. This broke me free because it got me into a space of power inside myself, within my life, within my relationships, and I started to be able to discern what was working for me and what wasn't. And then I went through the long, big curve of learning how to discern and see healthy behaviors in myself and in others, and unhealthy behaviors in self and others. Now, if you want assistance in this is what the relationship strategy is about. It's about helping you discern these things. But the relationship strategy's effectiveness is built on the premise that you're being honest with yourself and you're treating yourself with value, importance, and priority, especially your well-being first. So we got some comments here. I want to just... Okay, Jesse says, perfect timing. Thank you. Yeah, you're welcome. Zara says, this is me giving empathy to the abusers. I feel I respect, but always get a clear message from men that I am in a relationship with and I don't respect them. It confuses me. Yeah, if you're in dynamics or relationships with people that you're respecting, you're showing up, but they're not, then you need to look at whom you're choosing, because you're missing some signals along the way. There's definitely accountability on the codependent's part, because you're the one choosing the person. And it's not, accountability doesn't mean fault. It doesn't mean condemnation. It means, okay, I need to expand my awareness. Because the neglect we've grown up with, we were neglected in a very specific way. We were not taught what healthiness looks like in relationships and in interaction with other human beings. So now we got to wake up to that. We have to connect with that. We have to embrace that. And that is the journey. That's the real journey out of codependency. What is a healthy behavior? What is not? How do I discern it? How do I tune into my gut on this? Things like that. And so this is our accountability, our role in the dynamic. And it is a challenging one. But it all starts with being honest with ourselves and valuing our well-being over the attention, approval, love, rejection of another human being. We have to become the priority first. We have to really appreciate and value and cherish ourselves. There is no other direction out of this. Because codependency is about the surrender of self, the discard of self, technically. It's like, I'm not that valuable, but your love is, your feelings matter first, and then maybe you'll love me. And that's not how healthiness works. So we got that down. If you're codependent, you got that down pro, right? You're an expert. But now it's about discovering that you have value, that your value deserves respect, it deserves priority, deserves importance from the people you let in your world. People who are healthy and are compatible, who want to be in your world, are going to treat your feelings, they're going to treat your boundaries, they're going to treat your person with respect because they care about how you feel. That doesn't mean the relationship will work out, because healthy people have relationships that fail all the time just because they're incompatible or just not going in the same direction anymore or something like that. But it does mean that you're going to feel safe. You're going to be seen, you're going to be heard. Now, that's the premise, that's the goal that we need to reach for. We need to do that with ourselves, and that starts with that honesty and with treating our well-being with value, with importance, and with priority. And so with these two things, you get out of the codependent dynamic. It's very confronting because it's going to reveal your fantasy. It's going to reveal the codependent programming. It's going to challenge you to show up in a very direct way. That's the point. That's what we need in order to wake up more to ourselves and more to who others choose to be. Because the goal in dating, the goal in getting to know anybody, whether it's dating or developing friendships or business relationships, is to discover who they are. Which means we have to remain honest with ourselves about who they are, rather than what we hope they can be or what we want them to be. We have to get back to honesty. It's like, based on their patterns of behavior, what are they showing me? How do I frequently feel around them? How do they respond to my conflicts, my problems? How do they handle theirs? What do they do when I hold them accountable or they make a mistake? I'll tell you, safety is rooted in the intimacy of the relationship, and intimacy is developed through conflict. Conflict is one of those places where we can really understand and see each other, but that's one of the biggest challenges in any relationship, is handling conflict in a constructive way that builds at least understanding and maintains respect. Okay? That's what we have to wrestle with. We have to be honest with ourselves so that we can have these experiences and understand who this person is and who we are with them. So these are the two core priorities I see 100% of the time so far, at least over the last 12 years, as something every codependent has to confront and has to choose. That's the rub. It's a choice. It all starts with I choose to value me. I choose to respect me. I choose to treat myself and my well-being with importance. I choose to be honest with myself as much as I know how. And I choose to broaden and develop that honesty. It starts with that choice. There's no amount of work out there that's going to change that factor. There's work that might make it easier, but it is a choice. We have to choose it. So it starts with you. Okay? Appreciate you guys. Remember that you're worth knowing, loving, and keeping. If you're interested in, if you're ready for a relationship that works, you're ready to understand how you can choose healthy people you're going to like, people you're going to love, people that are going to like and love you. Have relationships without the drama, without the abuse, but relationships that are full of respect and care and play and intimacy. Watch out for the relationship strategy, because we'll be opening the doors here in about a week and a half for enrollment. It starts December 6th, and you can also, the link is above on Facebook, below on YouTube, and if you're on YouTube, hit that subscribe button. You can get on the wait list and then jump in, because we're going to have we have 50 total, and we have 42 seats open, something like that. We'll see what I do when we get to it, but that's where that magic can happen. Now, if you're looking for healing, you're looking to work out love addiction, trauma bonding, the shame trauma that comes in with codependency, check out the Heal Yourself membership. You can start for $49 a month and really get the healing you need. And you also get bi-weekly support from me and live group mentoring. So we got your back in this. Appreciate you guys. Remember that you're worth knowing, loving, and keeping. And I will see you guys in our next video. Okay? Bye-bye.